Well, an interesting ethical dilemma arose this week when a self-described citizen journalist happened to be near the King Superstore in Boulder, Colorado, when the shooting began. He rushed in and started live streaming on YouTube as the incident unfolded around him. Now, some are saying YouTube should take the graphic video down, while others say it serves a purpose. For legal reasons, we cannot show much of it.
I don't know what's going on. I'm at King Supers in South Boulder. I heard gunshots.
This is a self-portrait of Dean Schiller from the scene of the shooting, some of which we have blurred. He is describing what he sees.
Something just happened here, guys. Someone's down.
For the next 3 hours, Schiller continued to live stream from the scene, despite being told multiple times by police to leave.
Hey, get back! Get out of here!
I'm a journalist.
I don't give a Get the hell out of here!
He didn't, and what Schiller recorded was both a grisly crime scene and a police response in progress. Like Schiller, other news outlets, including CNN, saw officers trying to ram down the side of the building and videoed a SWAT team being dropped off on the roof. But Schiller saw more, including bodies on the ground.
And there's people laying on the ground. This is no joke, guys.
Schiller's entire video remained on YouTube, where some outraged viewers felt it should be taken down, tweeting things like, "Dean Schiller live-streamed bodies, did nothing to offer help to people in need. You do not need to view or spread graphic footage to obtain or share information." Vice News also pointed out that Schiller was showing police tactics in real time that might have tipped off the shooter. In a statement, YouTube said that while violent content intended to shock or disgust is not allowed, we do allow certain violent or graphic content with sufficient news or documentary context. I'd say, as disturbing as the video is, it qualifies as sufficiently newsworthy. Yeah, Callie, as you know, I'm pretty consistent on these things, and as gruesome and graphic as it is, I do think it serves a news purpose, also serves a learning purpose, as in don't use a truck to try to ram down a cement wall. It will also be used, undoubtedly, as a timeline for this event as it unfolded. I mean, Dean Schiller comes off as a jerk. He's not really a journalist. He's kind of a gadfly known to police, but it was a gutsy move on his part, too, to stay on the scene, or stupid one way or the other. You look at it, but you don't have to look at it, but it's on YouTube.
So he's not a journalist, so that means he came with, a lack of judgment about these things. And the first thing that came to my mind was he is revealing in real time police tactics. And if we don't know what the shooter had available to him on his phone or any place else to keep up with what was going outside, so that could have been far worse, revealing all kinds of stuff. So I'll put that aside and let the police deal with that. The second thing is, because the judgment factor is at play, for him, everything is content. This is not news to him. It's content. And these are people's lives. And I am reminded of the kinds of decisions that got made after certain similar situations. So I'm thinking of Philando Castile. So his murder is right, his girlfriend taped that. Pretty quickly they realized we can't have this up. This has to be edited or in some way modified. I mean, figure that out. Same thing with 9/11, the people jumping out of the building. You cannot find that video. So we got to think about when this kind of damage, we didn't see the beheadings of the journalists. There's a lot of things at stake at play here. And as journalists, we typically make some decisions about, taste and propriety. Now, maybe if he wasn't live streaming it, maybe if he, did what he did and then released parts of it after some consultation, maybe that would have been better.
Should you two take it down quickly, Callie? You think they should take it down?
At this point, I would take it down with some modifications.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Callie's getting at the real point there. It's not so much a question of whether it should be taken down now as to whether it should have been allowed to be live streamed. I mean, it was in the live streaming of it that endangered the situation, the police response. He could have endangered other lives by disclosing what police were doing. And the guy is a total creep. If you actually sit there and watch the thing, you showed the video, Emily, of the cops shooing him away. What you didn't show was that he turned around and dropped an F-bomb on the cop. No legit journalist would behave in that way. So this reminds me a little bit of the issues raised by the Christchurch mass murderer. A couple of years ago, remember, in New Zealand, the guy with the helmet cam on? And he intended to live stream the whole thing, and he did. These platforms need to rent an iota of responsibility and crack down, if not completely do away with, the capacity for any idiot to live stream events that should not be live streamed.
Look, I think, Emily, as you pointed out at the beginning of this conversation, there's a lot of value that can come from this footage, right? Police can use it for training. It is informational in terms of a timeline, a TikTok of what was happening. But I do think the point of judgment is important. I remember covering the North Hollywood shootings out in the Los Angeles area, in North Hollywood, many years ago. And while our cameras were there and we were rolling and even sending back the live signal, we were also having conversations with law enforcement about what they didn't want us to show because they didn't want, the shooter to know exactly where they were moving. So I think it is important for that conversation to take place. Now, the caveat to that is I think sometimes as journalists, we are too quick to just say yes to what law enforcement is asking us in the name of protecting their movements, when in fact, they're just trying to keep us from covering the story, right? So, I put that in there as part of this conversation. Having said all of this, I do think that the information is out there. It's important information, and I wouldn't take it down.
I'm incredibly torn on this. If I had a family member who had died in that shooting, I would want the video taken down immediately. If he, through his actions and his hostile, combative refusal to take direction from the police, not in a thoughtful way like Dan was talking about, but just in this kind of knee-jerk, I was about to use inappropriate language on TV, in this knee-jerk, anti-authoritarian way, if people had died because of that, then this man would justifiably get a whole ton of blame. Having said all that, when I watched the video, I can't think of any other piece of coverage that I've seen that captured the visceral horror of that kind of an event like this did. I didn't want to watch it, and I'm not going to go back and watch it, but we have this problem in our country, and I haven't seen it documented in as powerful a way as he did. So the best advice I can come up with is Facebook, YouTube, other platforms should be able to interrupt something like this being broadcast live. But, once it's out there, even before it's out there, I think that there's a place for this kind of footage, as macabre and awful as it is.
So you would leave it up?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.